Good evening, families. This is Mrs. Bowie. I'm the assistant principal for kindergarten through second grade at Unite Elementary. And today I'm here to give you guys a guide on the NWEA MAP assessment. NWEA stands for the Northwest Evaluation Association, and sometimes you'll hear us refer to the assessment as MAP or NWEA. They're both the same thing, and it's just a test that measures what matters. So in this presentation today, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about what MAP is, when we'll be administering the assessments, and how you can administer the assessments from home. First up, our testing schedule. So on Thursday, December 10th at 8:30 in the morning during homeroom, students in third grade through fifth grade will participate in what's called the readiness test. This is just a super quick test to actually test if the computer is ready to administer this test. Students don't have to do anything beforehand, and their teachers will walk them through this readiness assessment. And there's nothing that parents need to do on their end at home, except make sure that the students are logged in at 8:30 a.m. in homeroom as usual. Then the following week, so next Tuesday on December 15th, we will do the ELA MAP assessment. So the way that it works is students will log into homeroom at 8:30 a.m. just as they've been doing. And then the teachers will actually drop the website link for them to actually log into their assessment. And parents for kindergarten through second graders or anybody who needs a little bit of extra support, please plan to be there at around 8:55 to help your student log into the assessment. There will be no content classes for that day, so that students can simply focus on taking their assessment. On Wednesday, we will do the same thing. Again, on Wednesday, students will log into homeroom at 8:30 a.m. Closer to the 9 o'clock mark, teachers will drop the link for their assessment. You'll log the students in a similar fashion that we'll be discussing, and then we'll just allow the students to work. So first up, what is the MAP assessment? So the MAP assessment is an adaptive and normative computer assessment that tells teachers what your scholar currently knows and what they are ready to learn. What does adaptive mean? Basically, what it does is this test just starts giving your students questions and slowly starts to gauge where your students are. So for example, they might get a question at this level, on a 200 level. If they get it right, they'll give them an even harder question. If they get that question wrong, they'll keep going and they'll take more questions. And the more they get right or wrong, the test starts to norm out exactly what score they are. And it'll tell us what level they are in both math and reading. So at the end of the assessment, students receive what's called a RIT score, and the RIT score measures their performance across grade levels. So a score of 214 will be the same across different grade levels. Students' goal is to just get a higher score over time. So for example, a student who gets a 214, a second grader who gets a 214, that means they're performing on a 7th grade level. A 10th grader that gets a score of 214 is also slated to have been performing on a 7th grade level. Now, RIT scores, or the scores that they get from MAP, are really important because it shows their growth over multiple years. So oftentimes students will start to take this assessment in kindergarten, and the goal is to see their score increase over time. And the really great thing about MAP assessments is that it lets you know how your student compares to themselves. It isn't like a standardized test where their scores are compared to other students. It actually tells you how they're growing independently over time. Now, how we use this data. So once we have the students' RIT scores, we take those and we decide like what kind of skills should they be practicing in IXL online, or what kind of skills should they be doing in their small group instruction with their teachers, so that we can give them more targeted practice and hopefully improve them even more for when they take the assessment another time. This is where we talk a little bit about the growth over time. So let's say the test is given often. So we try to give it 3 times a year in the winter, the spring, and the fall. Clearly with COVID this year, we've not been able to do that. We're going to be administering it in the winter and hopefully again at the end of the school year. So let's say a student comes in, takes their winter map, and they get a score of 162. In the spring, we will take that test again. And hopefully they'll have increased. Then they did a great job, right? This increase from 162 to 171 is a great growth. Then we have this thing, what's called the summer loss, which is when students are home over the summer, they experience a little bit of loss. So once they come back in the fall, they might have a lower score than they used to. Again, we'll work with their students, we'll take this data, we'll come up with some individualized learning for them, and then they'll take the test again in winter. And then hopefully they'll grow. And then the goal is that by the time they take it again in the spring, they'll grow. And again, you notice how a student will have some dips and curves, but they're growing over time. Again, normative means comparable to others who take the test. So there's over 900 million students who take the MAP assessment in the world. And so their RIT score directly correlates to a percentile. So while their score is individual to themselves and how they're growing over time, the percentile can let you know how they're comparing across the nation and the world. And the percentile predicts a student's college readiness, right? So you want to be in the 80th percentile or above. That would signify that they're on track to being college ready. And if they're not, that's totally okay. That's why we want to take these assessments and continue working with students to develop them so that we can get them into that higher percentile and thus make them college ready. So the most important part of this is that you guys will be administering the MAP test at home. And it's very, very important, first and foremost, that you prep your scholar for the assessment. Give them words of encouragement. You can do this. I believe in you. You're going to be great. Provide them a productive virtual space. Ideally, place them in a room by themselves or somewhere or at the kitchen table with you where they can focus with, a paper and a pencil if needed, just so that they can focus and be productive. And make sure that they have a way to connect with their teachers. So when they log into homeroom on the day of the assessment, we will have them be on the Zoom, and they're just going to minimize the Zoom during their assessment so that if they need anything, they can connect with their teacher by just popping up the Zoom. Now, one of the most important things is that while it will be very, very tempting, you cannot help your scholar during this assessment. The reason why we say that we don't want you to help them is because if they score an incredibly high score in this assessment, and then they come back and they test in the spring and they dramatically decrease, it'll show backwards growth. And we don't want that. We want very, very accurate data so that we can make sure your student is getting targeted help. If you help your second grader and you show 8th grade mastery, they're not going to get work and help with their second grade material that they might struggle with. We're going to try and give them work at 8th grade level. Then your student might be completely lost, like what is going on? So please, please, please make sure that you do not help your student. Here are ways to say, I can't help you. You can say, keep trying your best. You can say, remember, difficulty means you're doing good. What that means is, remember, if a question is getting really, really hard, that means they're doing a great job. We want them to get questions that are harder and that they don't know, because that means that they're getting that really high question that's going to get X out to bring them down a little bit more as the test norms out. And then you can also say, I can't wait for your teacher to teach you this. Look at how you're growing. When they see that question that's really frustrating them, they're like, Mom, my teacher never taught me this. Good, she shouldn't have taught you that. I'm excited for her to do that. Just do your best and keep going. And then just be present. If they need breaks, let them take breaks. But ideally, we want them to test. We want them to take their time, but we also don't want them to just sit at the computer all day with questions in front of them. So just getting that average pace of working steadily, but with focus. Keep your scholar awake, right? And then communicate with the teacher on their behalf. So especially if you have a kindergarten through second grade kiddo that can't really type, it is very, very helpful if you're around to help them in case a problem pops up, or someone from daycare is around to help them if something pops up, and then they can communicate with the teacher in the Zoom. So here's what you'll see. Again, you'll show up to homeroom at 8:30 a.m. as students have been doing this entire e-learning time. And your teacher will drop a link. Your student, a link will have this pop up. It'll say join the session. Your teacher will post the session name and password, and you will just type that in. Make sure you enter the information carefully. It is case sensitive. We will make sure that we put the the easiest session name possible. And the password will always be a 4-digit code. Once you type in your test session name and your password, you'll click join. Once you click join, there'll be a column that says choose your name. So you'll click the arrow and you'll find your student's name. And then you'll select the appropriate test. The teacher will tell you what test, but for example, if I'm a kindergartner, it'll say the K1 math assessment or something along those lines, 2 through 5 math map. And you'll just make sure you click the appropriate test. Once you click the appropriate test, you will be prompted to confirm their name. So it will say, is this blank? Is this the test that they're supposed to be taking? And you'll say yes if that is correct. So please just press on the blue yes. Once you press on the blue yes, you'll just wait for a second. The teacher will be notified that the student has logged in and is ready to take the test. So you'll wait. This blue arrow will eventually pop up once the teacher confirms the assessment. Once the teacher confirms the assessment, go ahead and press the blue arrow that appears on the screen. And then you'll be in the test. Once you're in the test, you can click on the megaphone. A lot of lower school tests have this. This will actually read the question or say the question for scholars, and they can actually click each individual item to hear the question, to hear the answer options, etc. Some students might have this at some point, and they might be doing a really great job, and this feature goes away. That's okay. Don't read it for them. Again, the goal is for them to get harder items so that they can show their learning. Once you make an answer choice, so what will the kids do next? Let's pretend they open the umbrella. We would click the option and then press the arrow to move to the next question. And you'll do this for each and every question. Students, you can practice getting in the habit of just clicking each choice before they click an option. Now, while your scholar is working, if they reach this screen, that means that they're moving way too fast. So please ask the teacher for the proctor pin to allow your scholar to continue in the Zoom chat, and then please encourage your scholar to take their time. Again, we want the happy balance of not spending forever staring at a question on the screen, but also making sure that they're not just zooming through the questions without even thinking about it. Once a student is all done, they'll see the happy dog. That means good job. Buen trabajo. Congratulations. The screens means that you're done. You'll notice there's about 44, sometimes up to 53 questions. Again, as students are working through this, they can take breaks, and they've done these before oftentimes, so they'll be fine. And you do have the entire 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. window to complete this assessment, which is why we say that you start at 9 a.m. and you work with focus this entire time. Now remember, this is an adaptive test. If the test stops reading to your scholar, they're growing. Don't read for them. Again, if it has a little megaphones, use them. If it doesn't, that means that they need to try and read the question on their own and answer it on their own. The 2nd through 5th grade assessment provides about 42 to 53 questions, and it should take a minimum of 60 minutes. Your scholar should be working with focus for at least an hour on this assessment. If you have a question, again, the teacher will be available on their homeroom Zoom this entire time from 9 to 12. So you can go on the Zoom with the teacher. There will be no content this day. Teachers will simply be available to help with math. Once you're completely done, once you've passed the happy dog, you'll receive a RIT score. There is no action on your end. You do not need to take a picture of this and send it to us. It actually automatically reports it to us within 24 hours. So once you're done here, this will be the score. If you're interested, so this is where they get their overall score, and here they'll give you the breakdown for each category. So this is just like on their reading foundations. Here's where they, based on literacy and nonfiction, here's how they did with vocabulary, and here's how they did with writing. So you see this scholar did really, really great with foundations, reading foundations, and is struggling a little bit with the writing piece, right? When looking at data, this is a little bit antiquated from 2015, and new data is yet to be released. But on average, these are these average RIT scores for students by grade level. Again, if your scholar doesn't reach one of these goals, it's totally fine. That's the information that we want to receive because we want to know what we need to do to help them so that they can get better. And that is how you will administer the assessment each day on next Tuesday and next Wednesday for ELA and math. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us here who are conducting the assessment. And if you have any questions, again, your teachers will be available on Zoom as well to answer anything that you might have. Hope you have a great day, and we're very, very excited for this opportunity.